This is the Brave Space podcast. Brave Space is a healing place for gun violence prevention professionals and survivors. I'm here in Newark, New Jersey with the Newark Community Street Team, and I'm joined by Chainah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Chainah Williams. I humbly serve as the Director of Victim Services, now known as the Survivors Assistance Network.
Nice. So, Chainah, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, are you from here? Are you born, raised? Tell me about where you're from.
So I am from North New Jersey. Actually, from Irvington, New Jersey. That's where I grew up, but we know that's like the sister of Newark. But I did grow up in Newark after I moved out of Irvington about 15 years old. I spent the last bit of my years in North New Jersey.
Yeah.
I went to Irvington high school though, and but I started doing a lot of community advocacy in Newark.
Nice. So what was your neighborhood? Like, what was the community? So far, I've heard about like South Ward. That's one of the main communities that was talked about yesterday during the interviews. But what community or neighborhood are you from?
I would say I'm more from the Fairmont Heights, the West Ward.
Okay.
I did grow up in the West Ward near South Orange Avenue, 18th Avenue, West End. Also near like Georgia King Village, the old residential neighborhood.
Okay.
It's about, I think when I was growing up, I remember like the long, big, baggy T-shirts, right?
Okay.
And saggy jeans and the Timbs. That was my experience growing up.
Yeah. So I'm from the South. So that look was definitely filtered down to the South because I remember that. What was your experience like growing up in Westward? Like, what was the community like? How did the community feel for you? What was it like growing up in your community?
I want to say, to me, at that age, I would say it was more like family oriented still in a sense. You had the family barbecues, different activities that we would get to do in the neighborhood with our neighbors. It was just a lot of different, I'd say not too much drama as far as when I was younger. I didn't get a chance to like correlate issues to that. I seen more of like people just having a good time. Always like family always got together at grandma's house. That was one thing. But yeah, that was my experience growing up. Church, school, family.
Yeah. Was church a big part of your life?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I grew up with my grandparents. They raised me like the first 11 years of my life. But my grandfather was an apostle and my grandmother was the first lady. So we was in church like 3-4 times a week. So they definitely established like a good foundation for us spiritually.
Yeah. What would you say, like, how would you describe your community as far as safety? Like, did it feel safe? Did it feel unsafe? How would you describe it?
I would say it felt like unsafe. Like my grandfather walked us to school often. And during the walks, we would definitely see like, fights, gang violence break out. Most of the time, like after school time. We would definitely see like different, drug sales happening during the walk to and from school. But as far as safety, my grandparents made sure like everybody looked out for us. They had a relationship with the crossing guards, the teachers at the school, the principal, the bus driver. They knew like on our way to and from, like we were safe.
Yeah. Do you feel like you understood like what was unsafe, or did it just seem like that was part of the norm, like seeing certain things?
Seeing certain things became like part of the norm. Not only did we see it in our day-to-day, we seen it on TV and seen it in music videos. So it did become like some sort of like what we say normalcy. There was some sort of normalcy there. I didn't see, like, I wasn't fearful walking to like, oh, this is going to happen to me. It was more so, this is what I see on the news. This is what I see just walking by.
Yeah. Was Westward, like when you were growing up, was it considered a community that experienced a lot of gun violence?
Definitely. Gun violence has been taking place. I wouldn't even say just Westward, just Newark historically has been a hot area for gun violence.
Yeah. Were you exposed to gun violence at all?
I had 2 occasions that I experienced gun violence at an early age. One of them was when I was spending the weekends like with my dad, but this wasn't the West Ward. I think this was the South Ward. Chancellor Avenue is considered the South Ward, right? And we were walking to the store, and we happened to just stand outside the store, and there was a house like right next door to the store, and two people just ran off the porch and was shooting at each other, like in motion, running and shooting and trying to get away at the same time. And I froze. That was like my first upfront experience to gun violence, and it happened like right in front of me. And I seen the person that was shooting that stopped. The one behind looked at me, and more so like he just finished shooting, so I'm watching my surroundings type, not more as far as an attack to me, but just coming into like eye contact with the person. There was like a new level of fear that was unlocked. I went from thinking like this was normal to now, okay, this is not safe.
Yeah.
This is not normal.
Yeah. How old were you?
At that time, I was probably about 10 years old.
Yeah.
9 or 10 years old. The second time I came across gun violence, I was 15, and I was raped at gunpoint. Yeah.
How did those two experiences, like, how did they shape your sense of safety, right? So you described like having a grandfather who would walk you to school, make sure that you were safe. And then these two big things happen at a young age. How did that shape your sense of safety? And did it mean that you started moving differently? And if so, how?
I would say, so after those two experiences, I wasn't living with my grandparents anymore. I ended up moving in with my mom, and there was a different level of like freedom in a sense, because my grandparents were strict. They was pastors and stuff, and so with my mom there wasn't a lot of safety as it was like with my grandparents of having someone walk you to and from school. So after those experiences, I was more fearful. I think I was like scared of the dark.
Yeah.
I was scared to like walk home like at nighttime. Like my anxiety was on like a whole new level. Like I felt myself of just always being, I started to become more pessimistic than optimistic. I started thinking the worst in situations. And I think that comes from the fear of, and you know, the fear of facing something else that's violent.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were going through those experiences, did you rely on like your faith and church, and was that like a source of support for you?
That was my only sense of support for me. Thankfully for my grandparents of instilling that spiritual foundation. I was used to be going to church like by myself. I'm talking about at 13 years old, it was a church around the corner, and I used to go to church several days a week by myself, and I started to get more acquainted to some of like the ministers at church, and I would like confide in them, and they would pray. So I started building relationships just there in church, and like just holding on to my faith of knowing like God got me, or this is for a reason, even though I didn't know it yet. It was something. It was like a gravitational pull, I think, for me. Of this is where my strength is in this season.
Yeah. And do you still like rely on your faith today?
Absolutely. If he did it before, he will do it again. So I definitely. That's one thing I do. I'm in church every Sunday. I'm at Enhanced Church, right around the corner on Avon. I love them. It's Come As You Are, and they are a church full of love, and they go off this motto: "We are not your grandmother's church." So it's more of like, some people rely on like traditions, but this is more of just relationships. So I love my church.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Was there any point in time where you like questioned your faith, like, and if so, like, what was that like for you? So it sounds like early on, right, you experienced difficult things, you relied on your faith, it was your only source of support. But at what point, if any, did like doubt or even just questioning God, like what point did that come
Definitely. I would say I was 18, and it was like rock. I felt like I was at a place of like rock bottom. I was out of school. I was out of school early for fighting, things like that. And at this point, I've already been sexually assaulted over 4 or 5 times. So at this point, I'm thinking like, maybe I'm just Christian because that's what I was taught to be growing up. Like, this is how I was raised to be. But is God even real? Or, those situations. I mean, when I say rock bottom, I mean, I didn't know where I was going to sleep sometimes. I didn't know if I was going to eat sometimes. So the challenges with my faith came into, like, I don't know if God really has me. And it's just like, you know what? I started staying in more of a Muslim dominated community. So this in part may have like swayed my decision also too, because I was being exposed to something different than I was raised up in, being Christian. So as I started to have those questions and those doubts, and that's how the enemy works anyway, plants those seeds. I did ended up questioning him, and it's like, no, I'm just going to take my shahada. Yeah, I'm just going to take my shahada. I think this is different. Maybe if I have a choice in my faith, instead of something being, maybe God will work on my behalf, for me. But that didn't last too long. I think I was Muslim maybe like 2-3 months. I was going to Jumar, I was wearing the garbs, but I kept singing gospel music, like I Won't Complain. And I kept singing that song, and I remember one sister touched me. She was like, you can't sing that in here. And I was like, subconsciously, it was still in me. He was still connected to me. So I always say, even though I didn't understand and I turned my back on him, he never turned his back on me. So even through that transition where I questioned him, he still covered me.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Thank you.
Really powerful. And so you actually have a book where
I talk about this.
Yes, so you want to tell me like the title of your book?
So it's called Hey God, Did You Get My Message? It talks about my life story of growing up and surviving sexual assault as a child and domestic violence as a young adult. And it talks about how I navigate that, the loss of support, if not my family believed me and walked me through it. And then it talks about life after that, moving from victim to victorious, and how I got actually to the starting point of where I am now as being a director here. But it is available on Amazon and Kindle. It's free on Kindle. Please leave a review.
Yes.
I love all feedback, and part 2 is in motion.
Yes. Will part 2 be the play or part 2 of the book? Did you do plays as well?
Yes, so I did turn Hey God, Did You Get My Message into a gospel stage play for the city of Newark back in 2018.
It's incredible.
Thank you. We are working on getting it into film so it could be in the next movie theater. But I am also looking into an addition to the story. The way, once you read the book, you'll know how it leaves off. It's still open-ended. So just learning or wondering how I got to this part of where I am today, there's a big gap missing from the end of that story. So I am looking to do a part 2 of that story.
Yeah. What would you say, let me ask this question first. What do you see as like the intersection of like gun violence and sexual violence and domestic violence? Like, how are all 3 of those different types of violence related?
I think what comes into play is not only the lack of resources, but it's also like mental health awareness. I think a lot of from the perpetrators' perspective, right, when it comes to like physical abuse, emotional abuse, domestic violence, gun violence, what we do have to understand first is that the perpetrator is a victim too. And they were once victimized, and we know that hurt people also hurt people. And if they don't have access to the right services like community violence intervention, when programs like this are defunded, it takes away and limits the access for victims who are already hurt. And when they have no access or limited access to food, to employment, to housing stability, now they're going out and trying to rob Paul to pay Peter, and literally.
Yes.
So I think just making sure that we're supporting both all victims overall, and making sure they all have the support for transformation. Even perpetrators, making sure they have a pathway to transformation as well.
Was it difficult to see your perpetrator as a victim as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this work made it easier for me. So I began my healing process around like 24, 25 when I would say even younger than that, about 22. If 22, 23 is when I started writing, "Hey God, did you get my message?" And at first, I wasn't like thinking like, oh, they were victim. I was more blaming them. I wanted them to take accountability. I wanted them to admit what they did to me. But as I progressed in this work and becoming more trauma informed of understanding that there was some things that impacted their decisions as well, allowing them, putting them in a position to be a perpetrator, I do take that more into, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like account or
I do
like,
take, yeah, I do take it more
or
into account.
consideration.
Yeah, just of understanding, like, and I'm an empathetic person
Yeah.
already. Like, I can feel, I'm very intuitive, and I feel like sometimes I could. I give grace to a lot of people. I think that's just who I am naturally. I'm very forgiving. I'm very turn the other cheek, slap me again type of person. And I think that's sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's a bad thing. It could be a gift and a curse. But I think for my perpetrators, I think God has the final say. So there's no revenge I need on my end.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of messages were you asking God? Like, so for others who may be watching and like, they may have that same question because it's such a relatable title, right? Like, hey God, did you get my messages? Like I've been reaching out. What kind of questions, especially as you were going through your healing journey, like what kind of questions were you wanting him to answer for you?
I wanted to know, like, why me? That was like the big question. Why me? Why was I chosen to go through this? Why was I born into this family? Why doesn't anybody believe me? That those were like the initial like questions that left me vulnerable, I would say, left me heartbroken because I still didn't really like get a lot of answers, except the only answer I did get to why me is because I was built for it. He said, you know, it's not because it's swift. Like the race is not given to the swift, but to those that can endure to the end. And although I'm not the strongest, there's a level of perseverance that I have to see it through. And I feel like God, or these experiences has happened for me in order for me to be a witness to somebody else, in order for me to be an example for somebody else. I will have to have gone through it first. We hear a lot like, how you could tell me something you ain't even been through it, like, you know. But when you've been through it, there's a different level of conviction that you can, you know, use to empower other people.
Yeah.
And that's where that comes from.
Yeah. I think too, it takes a lot of strength to even like sit here and be able to communicate your story and your journey because, you know, so many of those who watch the podcast, like, so for example, I provide therapy for the youngest survivors of gun violence. Right. So they're young, right? And it may be gun violence is the initial reason why we get connected, but a lot of times it could be so many other things that have already happened. And even just the idea of like, is healing possible, or who's going to listen to me? Who's going to believe me? A lot of times those questions do come up in therapy, but for those who may be hesitant to like actually come to therapy, because it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of courage. I think that's kind of telling of where you are in your journey, that you are able to sit down and speak about it and help someone else through your book, through your plays, and then also just through your conversation. So at what stage did you start, or did you receive therapy?
On and off. I would say more because I am more spiritual based therapy, like going to the church, talking to my pastor, things like that. I've definitely had those type of conversations. I've tried clinical therapy, talk therapy. But what people need to know is that clinical therapy is not the only level of therapy. There are alternative healing pathways for survivors that you can healing through art, healing through music, healing through dance. I think all of those different creative avenues provide a sense of healing for survivors of crime. So if you are hesitant about healing, I would say explore some alternative healing pathways outside of talk therapy.
Yeah, I love that because everybody needs something different, and you need something different at different times too. So it's not even like the first thing that you start off with, whether it's talk therapy or whether it's like dance therapy or art therapy. You could switch it up, right?
Listen, I went through a phase. I actually, during the healing journey, is when I found and learned so much more about myself. I didn't know how creative I really was until I started going through the alternative healing pathways. I started doing music. I loved writing, which we got from writing a book and a play, right? But just writing poetry or writing songs for individuals. A couple of years ago, a few people in the city of Newark wanted to record, and I got my studio apartment. I turned it into a recording studio, and I was the engineer, I was the editor, I was the writer, I was helping everything. But not only that, just going into the stage play now, the theater part of it, just being able to direct and produce and write. When you're healing, it's just different parts of you starts to open up and grow and develop, and you're learning yourself throughout that healing process. So I learned how creative I was. So I definitely say explore. Explore all healing pathways. Healing is possible, and it's our right to heal. So a lot of things already are taken away because of trauma. Whether it's our voice, our joy, our peace. But one thing we have the right to do after all of those things are taken is we have the right to heal. And it's
and to get them back.
And to get it back. You could take back everything that trauma took from you. And take back ownership of your journey.
Yeah, that's so good. Because you made such a good point that within the healing process, however that looks for each individual, you really are unlocking new parts of yourself. And sometimes, I don't know, I think about this a lot sometimes, that it's we have to sometimes experience really difficult things to even tap into another aspect of ourselves, because sometimes we can get comfortable. And, I don't like that it has to be that way. It just always sometimes seems like that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think certain things we go through is to either unlock or build something within ourselves, right? It's just before I could be trusted with this new level of wisdom or this new level of knowledge, I have to first be able to get through this test that I keep failing every 2 weeks. So it's sometimes he brings us back to certain situations so we can learn how to either carry it, so we can learn how to be able to, maneuver through it, or just how to have the courage to handle it all. So I think sometimes we ask, we may pray and ask for strength. I just need strength. But then he might give you a hard situation that requires you to be strong. And you being strong is you developing a new sense of strength. But we just want, put these muscles on your back.
Let me carry it.
Strength.
No, it doesn't work like that.
No, it's the experiences you go through that starts to build that strength and build that courage. So.
That's a really good metaphor too, because it's literally you have to lift the weight, right? You constantly, and then if you just lift the same weight all the time, you're actually not going to get stronger. You got to put more weight. Although sometimes it'd be this too much. This way is too much. I ain't asked for all it is, right? So at what point did you start working in community violence intervention or CVI?
So that would be back in 2018. I had just put on my first stage play. And I had just moved back to New Jersey a year prior to putting on a stage play. So I had some familiar friends that I was connected to before I had moved to South Carolina. And when they found out that I was back and I had the book, actually I was in my apartment and they knocked on my door and was like, hey, would you come apply for us? We heard that you have this book and you do this and that. I thought you would be a good fit. And I'm like, who comes to the door asking for someone to apply? Like, this
Right.
gotta be fake. What type of job is this? I never heard of it. And especially community like advocacy like that wasn't as prominent. I mean, we had a lot of volunteer organizations, but North Community Street Team for the city of North put violence intervention like on the map. But at the time, I had no clue who North Community Street Team was. So I was already doing community advocacy with spreading the word about my book about sexual assault, domestic violence. And yeah, they came and asked me to apply for a program manager position, but I ended up with Safe Passage. It was cool. I got my foot in the door.
Yep.
And I got hired in 2018 as a case manager and Safe Passage worker. 2019, the victim advocate position opened up, and with my history and experience of being a survivor, I was very passionate about going for the victim advocate role. I obtained that in 2019, and then since 2020, past 5.5 years, I've been spearheading the Victim Services Department as the director.
Nice.
Thank you.
What are some of the successes and challenges in being in your role?
The challenges is not having enough resources to serve everyone. The need for like housing and relocation, more so for survivors of crime, is really high. Shelter placement in a city goes by referrals, or you have to be on like social services, get welfare benefits in order to be referred. But if you're not on welfare, there's no referral to get you into a shelter. And then even like referring them out to different cities, to having the services and the resources to transport them back and forth safely. What if they have work here? Children that have school here. So one of the main challenges for us is just being able to have enough resources to provide and meet the needs of the people that we serve. The successes is still being able to touch a magnitude of people through our work, to see the many lives being like transformed, many people taking their healing journey serious, and seeing people come out or at the other end of their trauma victorious. Those are the successes, those success stories that we get from, hey, thank you for helping me through this domestic violence situation. I got my new house, my children are safe. Those are our successes.
How does it feel for you to like see someone who may have experienced actually reach their personal goals? Like, what does that feel like for you?
That's what I do it for. This is what I do it for. No, it makes me feel good. It makes me know that I'm doing what I was called to do. I'm making a change. I'm making an impact. And more importantly, I'm still healing the little girl in me that probably never was healed. The little girl in me that didn't have anybody come to advocate for her or stand up for her or defend her. The little girl in me that thought nobody believed her. So I go in, believing my clients, who they did what? Oh no, we have to, take care of this. So it's just like making sure the people that I serve feel, that they are trusted, like we believe them, feeling like they're believed, feeling that they're supported, and know that we're going to hold their hand along the way. But it makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm called according to his purpose, and I feel like that this is his purpose.
And it sounds like too, like you're able to give people what you didn't give, like people who are victims, right? Because you know what they need, you know what the gaps are, because if you've gone through it, then you can just like provide that for them, right? Without them even asking. Because sometimes I hear a lot too that, with different traumatic experiences, people don't even know what to ask for because they're in it. Right. But someone who has already gone through it and has reached a certain level of healing in it, you don't have to ask, because it's like, I already know what you need.
I already know what you need. And I feel like sometimes people can rush the healing journey.
Process.
They can rush the process. Not everyone is able to process or understand what they need right in the moment of them going through. So it may seem like they don't know what to ask for, but even though they know what they want, they know what they need, they're not in a position to go forward in that time based off their emotions. But I do feel like if we work with survivors to allow them to play a part in their healing process, not that we're dictating what needs to be done and how they need to heal. You need to go to therapy. You need to talk to somebody. No, it's just where do you see, what does healing look like for you?
For you, yeah.
What are you expecting to get out? What does recovery look like? What does victory looks like at the end of the situation? Sometimes we're like just telling people, okay, we're going to send you here, we're going to refer you here, and we need you to fill out this paperwork. And she's probably saying, or he's probably saying, wait, I need time to process the situation I just left first. I don't have time to think about applying for a job tomorrow because I need to make sure my kids have something to eat tonight.
Yep.
So it's just working with them to understand, like, okay, we're going to work on you, being able to have a moment to process, give you a level of stability, and then work with you to maintain that level of stability.
Yeah. So what are like some of the main resources that NCST provides for families, victims, and survivors?
Okay, so we have, this is my favorite question. Okay. So we have our Survivors Assistance Network, formerly known as our Victim Services Department. We like our victims to feel empowered. So we don't want to identify them as victims, you're a survivor. Our Survivors Assistance Network provides alternative healing pathways for survivors to heal and own their healing journey, while we connect them to tools and resources that can aid them into recovery. So the Survivors Assistance Network is made up of members who are survivors of crime and community partners who provides resources and services, a network of them that provides resources and services to survivors as well. So if there's something, a specific direct service that we don't provide, we can connect them to the next provider through referral. And we also have our Trauma Recovery Center that provides free mental health and wellness services to those that self-identify. So you don't need a prescription, you don't need a referral from your doctor or a police report. You could come right in and obtain free mental health and wellness services. We also have our hospital violence intervention program that provides services to victims of crime directly bedside. So if they come into the hospital after experiencing gun violence, one of our hospital violence interventionists will work with them bedside to reduce retaliation, and to two, connect them to healing services. And then another one, because we have so many, I will also go into our overdose response team that provides services to those who have challenges with opioid abuse. So they work with EMT, University Hospital to actually be boots on the ground and jump out and provide intervention for those that may be experiencing an overdose.
Yeah.
And that was just a quick few. We got 10 more if you want me to.
So very comprehensive. Like you all really like make an effort also to reduce barriers, it sounds like, right? Because sometimes the criteria to qualify can actually keep the people who most need the services, like it keeps them out of services. Yeah,
actually one case of that was with our victim of crime compensation cases. The way law enforcement will write police reports will prevent or limit survivors from being able to access benefits. Whether if they refused to cooperate or said they didn't know who shot them, the law enforcement will language it in a way that would stop the benefits. So now with some policy advocacy, with the Attorney General's office, that the way police reports are written now has changed in order to protect survivors and their ability to access benefits. So I think since that new policy is implemented, we have gotten a 0% denial rate for victim of crime compensation benefits.
That's incredible.
Yes,
that's incredible. That's a big deal.
Definitely.
That's a big deal because that means more people essentially are getting the services that the funds are being used for anyways.
Correct.
Has the CVI funding cuts, like, has that impacted your ability to do the work that you're doing and provide those resources?
Absolutely. We have had staff, not most importantly, but equally of importance. We had staff that had to be laid off because it was suddenly defunded right before the holidays. We
Yeah.
have survivors who no longer have access to case management services. Our victim advocates are, well, they're transitioned out, but we're no longer
Yeah.
able to provide victim of crime compensation benefits to survivors because we're no longer funded to do so. And then access just to emergency services for survivors. If we were, prior, we were able to place a survivor in a hotel for up to 2 weeks at a time as we work on more permanent housing. Now we're unable to do that, leaving our survivors having to face their perpetrators alone. So the CVR funding was definitely, it being cut was detrimental to the victim services.
Yeah, yeah. What do you see as like the workaround? Like, how are you all navigating that? Because I mean, it's not just the funds. Like funding is really used as a weapon,
Right.
right? Is used as a weapon against a group of people to say that I don't think that you're valuable enough.
Right.
You don't deserve these resources. And in a lot of ways, to what you said earlier, it's like saying I don't believe you and I
Right.
don't believe in you, right? So therefore, I'm just not going to fund you.
Right.
So how is NCST navigating that during this time?
NCST is still fighting for the survivors, fighting for the resources that the survivors deserve. Right now, we're connecting with our partners in the work and identifying those who don't have a wait list. But finding a replica of the work that we do here is
Yeah.
nearly impossible. We have many great, phenomenal partners in the work, but partners that is able to duplicate the work that we do here or the services. Like there's so many organizations that may require a police report. They don't have the relationships that we may have through history of doing this work with the people in the community. So if they don't have the relationships, they don't have the trust.
Right.
And that is already difficult in itself to replicate. So finding partners that actually service our demographic of people, gun violence, those that don't trust law enforcement enough to cooperate where that's not a requirement, that is still challenging for us. So we still have a lieu of survivors that we're unable to refer to other organizations here in the city of Newark.
Yeah. I'm sure that can feel devastating even for staff, right? So it's like everyone involved. So the families who can't get the resources, but all the staff who are like working really hard to provide those resources and maybe even sometimes just feeling like defeated.
Yeah.
How are you taking care of yourself? Like, so working in CVI is not easy, right? Your colleagues yesterday told me it's hard work, right? It's hard work, but it's also hard work, right? So like, how are you taking care of yourself?
I would say definitely work-life balance. I normally would have a challenge with this because I'm a workaholic, and when I'm committed to something, it's just work, 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 work. But there's a thing called vicarious trauma as well, and sometimes we don't know that we're taking home some of the things that we're experiencing at work. So making sure I have moments of self-care, whether that's like extra 30 minutes in the shower or church is definitely like my go-to. If I need to go do a pick-me-up Bible study in the middle of the week, I'll definitely do that. But spending time to like digress after work is also helps me with self-care, making sure that I'm not taking work at home because I am a mom and I'm a new wife. So it's just like they don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear work, not again. So it's just like just learning just to have that work-life balance and time management in between, and making sure I prioritize myself, because sometimes, not that we have to do it all the time, but there should be moments once a day, once a week, that we take out for ourselves, because it's needed.
For sure.
And you got to pour back into yourself, especially if you're a person that is constantly pouring out to the people you serve.
For sure. What would you say is like one like message of hope that you would give to either someone who's watching this podcast who may not know you, or even like the families that you serve here? Like, what's a message of hope that you have?
I would say that healing is possible, and you are worthy of a life that healing makes possible. I would say healing is sacred, and it's something that should be taken seriously. There are different avenues and alternative pathways out there, but all you have to do is choose just one. And deciding to heal doesn't mean that you're forgetting everything that happened or erasing away what happened, but it's learning to carry a new level of truth and strength without allowing what happened to you carry you away.
That's beautiful. That's good. That's good. I so appreciate you being willing to interview and just telling me more about your life. I definitely want to get your book, right? So I'll be looking out for that. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. This is the Brave Space podcast. Brave Space is a healing place for gun violence prevention professionals and survivors. We meet, we process, we heal in community.